Shalom family, welcome back to our channel. So today is another cook with me day. I decided to do a cook with me on the stuffed pasta shells. I get a lot of questions about this when I post it online, so this is how I make it. So I start with some jumbo pasta shells. I use Great Value. You can use whatever brand you want. And I put them in the water one by one because sometimes they get stuck together like this. And I like to just go ahead and take these apart before they cook stuck together like this, because then it'll kind of be a pain in the butt to get them separated once they're cooked, because it could cause ripping, and you want to try to keep these shells as whole as possible. So I do separate these and put them in there one by one. You cannot cook no food without no peppers and onions, honey, so I go ahead and add me some bell peppers. I use the yellow bell peppers, and I'm adding some onions. This is a quick little tip or trick. I don't like cutting onions every single time, so whenever I use a new onion, I cut the whole onion and then I put the rest in the freezer, and it just saves me time. I hate cutting vegetables as is, so I do this with my peppers and I do this with my onions. I ran out of the frozen peppers, so I went ahead and used a fresh one, but I normally do freeze them. So then I go ahead and get my meat together. I seasoned it with some onion powder, some garlic salt, some white pepper, and some paprika. Again, just like with my chili, I do most of my seasonings in my sauce, so I just lightly season my meat. I mix all that together and then I begin to cook my meat. While my meat is cooking, I go ahead and get my sauce together. I use the chunky ragu sauce. I use the tomato, garlic, and onion because it has such a great flavor. So I season this with some garlic salt. I use my Mrs. Dash garlic herb salt-free seasoning, and then I go in with a little Italian seasoning. I stir it all together and then I taste, and then I add whatever else I need to add if it doesn't taste the way that I like. I don't put sugar in my spaghetti. You know, that's a personal preference. I just don't put it in there. And I also add onion powder to this sauce. I don't think I showed it on camera, but I went back and I added a little. But I don't add sugar. You can add sugar if you would like, but I just don't add it. That's a no-no over here. I sound so congested, y'all. I apologize, but then I go ahead and I begin to assemble like my stuffing. So I take all of the meat once it's cooked out and I put it into a bowl, and then I add the sauce to the meat. I don't cook the sauce. I just kind of heat it up a little bit so that it's not super cold. I don't know why. I could just pour it directly in here, but I like it to be a little bit warm. So I add about half of the mixture into the meat, and then I begin to assemble my pan, I guess. I use my cast iron skillet just because I like using my cast iron skillet. I put some sauce on the bottom, and I did forget to show that I add cheese to my meat and sauce mixture, which I will be showing now. I do add cheese because when this cheese melts up inside the pasta shells, it's going to be so good, so gooey, so cheesy, so bomb. So please do not skip the cheese. So then I begin to assemble my pasta shells. And I forgot to mention, once I drain my pasta shells, I put them into like a little bowl and I add a little bit of oil to my pasta shells so that they will not stick together. But yeah, so I begin to stuff the pasta shells, and honey, I stuff them, okay? I want them to be stuffed. And it doesn't really get easier stuffing them. It is kind of messy, and I apologize, I didn't really get it good into the frame, but it is a little bit tricky. I've made stuffed pasta shells quite a few times, and I still struggle with actually getting the mixture into the shell, okay? So just take your time, It is a little bit messy, but it's okay. So I just begin to stuff the shells and sit them into my cast iron. So once I'm finished stuffing all the shells, I go ahead and add the remainder of the sauce to my pasta. This just helps it, stay moist. I hate that word, but it helps it stay juicy. You do not want dry stuffed pasta. That's not where it's at. So the extra sauce just helps it get real saucy, real delicious, real juicy, real moist. Okay, so make sure you add the sauce to the top. And finally, definitely not least, we add the cheese. This is the most important step. I give me a nice layer of cheese on top, because when this melts, it's gonna get all bubbly and brown and like kind of crispy. I don't know, it just like, it's so good. So I add some mozzarella cheese to the top, and I add me a nice layer, and then we put it in the oven. I bake this for about 20 minutes until it starts getting golden brown and that sauce starts bubbling through the cheese. Oh my goodness, this was so good, y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed this video, and we will see you in the next one. Shalom.